bit later on. Java uses the same maths operators as a spreadsheet, which is going to be handy for you if you ever used a spreadsheet. There's the dividing sign is a /, the multiplication is a star. The only strange one you may not have come across is a percentage, which gives you the remainder of a division. So down here, if I say 5%2, that means give me the remainder of 5 divided by 2. So the answer would be 1. And there's a handy function, other ways of doing it. If you're storing things in an int, that'll work anyway, as you find out in Java challenge number. Let me jump back. The Java challenge that you started to do this was step number 2, I believe, where you had to give the that's it, step number 3, the division and the remainder, where you had to give the remainder of a division. If you say math.floordiv 5, 2, that will give you the number of times that 2 goes into 5 with no remainder, so that will give you 2 back. Okay, so that's another another handy thing to know. That frequently comes up in exams, and it's called the modulo, which we'll do a little bit later. Of course, Java has a lot of other math functions in the math class. For example, to the power of, if you want to raise something to the power of something, square root. It's got absolute value, minimum, maximum, sine, cosine, tangent, everything that you want. You can investigate that, and indeed you probably will, because your maths teachers are going to ask you to do a little bit of programming later on this year, which is great. But to be honest, programmers have don't use all of the different possibilities in the math class very frequently, and there are additional maths classes you can add into for all sorts of more advanced stuff. We're just going to look at the main stuff for now: maximum, minimum values, square roots, absolute values, perhaps, but definitely to the power of, square root, and these two, floor division and the remainder of a division. This is very handy, by the way, if you want to find out if something is an odd or an even number. You %2, in other words, you find out what the remainder is when you divide it by 2, and if that's equal to 0, then it's an even number, and if it's equal to 1, obviously it's an odd number. It's quite handy. Also, getting a random number. There are two ways of doing this. There's math.random, so it's part of the math class, but this is an old-fashioned way of doing it. And then there's a new class called random.nextInt. Now, the old way, you'll see it in code all the time. The new way, which just came out in the last couple of years with Java 8, I believe, is a truer way of getting a random integer number. Because if you remember when we talked about this a little bit, although it's not on your syllabus, the old method tends to not give 0 as often as it should. Okay, so this is the way math.random would be used. If you wanted to calculate a range of numbers, say between 0 and 9, you'd say int, because you need to convert it into an int. Remember, math.random gives you a number between 0 and 0.9999999. So therefore, you would have to multiply it by a number to get it to whatever range you want it to, and then convert that into an int. And that would approximately give you the value of 0 to 9. Of course, 0 would appear much less frequently than the other numbers because int rounds down. So therefore, don't worry about that. We don't use math.random as much now, and we use random.nextInt, which is the new method. Here's a practical example. This is how I would generate a roll of a dice, which could give me a random number between 1 and 6. I would start off by importing the class, same as scanner. Then I would create a new generator, same as scanner. And every time I want to use it, I would do something like this: int number, and then I would use generator.nextInt6, which gives me a number between 0 and 5. So I just move that up a range, the whole range up 1 by adding 1. So the number between 0 and 5 that would give me, I add 1 to it, and that random number becomes between 1 and 6.